A perfect lawn looks calm because it is being held in a permanent state of simplification. We keep it short, even, and repeatedly reset so it doesn't become taller, denser, or more layered. That does not mean grass is bad. Turf can reduce erosion, trap dust, and help moderate temperature in the right places. But when a huge amount of land is managed as ornamental turf, the question changes. In the United States, turf grass covers more than 50 million acres. That is a lot of ground held in one very narrow form of life. Ecologically, a lawn is closer to a pause button than a destination. If you stop mowing and stop clearing, a patch like that would try to move towards something richer. First, a messier mix of plants, then taller growth, then shrubs, then young trees. So the real issue is not whether grass is alive. It is whether we want so much land locked in a low-structure state for the sake of neatness. Once you keep a landscape in that short, open state, the hidden costs start to stack up. Lawns often need irrigation, mowing, fertilizer, and sometimes pesticides just to stay looking the way people expect them to look. EPA recommends minimizing fertilizer where possible, and it notes that slow-release products can reduce runoff into ground and surface waters. That matters because excess nutrients and pesticide residues can move into streams, groundwater, and lakes, where they can damage aquatic life. There is also the quieter cost of labor and energy. Every mowing pass, every watering cycle, every chemical application is another reminder that the lawn is not just a plant community. It is a maintenance system. And to be fair, that maintenance is sometimes justified. A small turf area can be useful for play, access, erosion control, or cooling a high-use space. But when ornamental lawn becomes the default finish line for a whole yard, we stop asking whether the land could do more. If the goal is a healthier yard, the answer is usually not one magic replacement product. It is a layered living system. Native gardens, meadow strips, and mixed plant communities do more than fill space. USDA Forest Service says native plants support wildlife and can provide food and shelter while using less water and fewer chemicals than many non-native alternatives. NPS makes the same basic point. Native gardens create habitat. And when people manage urban gardens with more plant diversity, the soil community responds too. A study in urban gardens found that higher plant diversity improved soil fauna and soil multifunctionality. That's a useful phrase, but the idea is simple. Better plant diversity helps the soil do more work, cycling nutrients, holding moisture, and supporting life below the surface. So, the replacement for turf is not just a prettier surface. It's a living structure with flowers, grasses, seed heads, stems, and room for insects and soil life to move through the season. Then there are the parts of a yard that people forget because they are not flat and low. Trees change the whole game. A native tree is not only shade, it is structure, shelter, nesting, food, and microclimate. The Forest Service's white oak reference is a good example. White oak acorns feed many birds and mammals, including squirrels, and the tree's canopy and branches help support wildlife. That vertical layer gives animals somewhere to hide, rest, and move. Add a pond, rain garden, or other small water feature, and the yard begins serving a different set of creatures too. NPS notes that ponds can support songbirds, waterbirds, and amphibians in landscapes that would otherwise be much simpler. This is why a living yard feels different from a decorative one. It has canopy, understory, ground layer, and water. It's not just green. The same stacking logic also applies to solar. On the right sites, solar panels do not have to replace plant life. They can share space with it. The Department of Energy says agrivoltaics is already a real U.S. business model, with more than 2.8 gigawatts of sites in the country, and many of them involving sheep grazing or pollinator habitat. That is the key idea. Let 1 acre do 2 jobs. Solar can produce electricity above, while low-growing crops, pasture grasses, or pollinator plantings grow below. NREL describes agrivoltaics in exactly that dual-use spirit. It is not a magic trick, and it will not make sense everywhere. But it is a strong example of land that is doing more than looking short and green. For some properties, that is the cleanest proof that the future of land use does not have to be flat. So if you want to replace a lawn, start in pieces. Keep the turf where you truly need it. Turn the rest into a native bed, a meadow strip, a small orchard, a pond edge, a rain garden, or a tree layer with understory plants beneath it. Let the landscape vary in height. Plant for bloom across the season. Leave some stems, logs, and leaf litter where it is safe to do so. And if you are adding solar, think about what can live under it before you decide the land is finished. The real win is not just less mowing. It is more ecological work per square foot. That is how a yard stops being a maintenance problem and starts becoming habitat. And once land starts doing that, it can hold more birds, more insects, more soil life, more shade, and more resilience than a perfect lawn ever could. The point is not that every lawn must disappear. It is that lawns should have to earn their space. If a patch can become food, cover, shade, water, habitat, or clean power, let it. The best replacement for an empty lawn is a living system.